I'm My background is like this. So I've done my BTech in IIT Kharagpur, and I did my masters from IIT Hyderabad, and I worked in a PSU company for 2 years, and then I've joined into this PhD program in IISc Bengaluru in 2016, and right now I'm in final stage of my thesis. So I have for this, I've been teaching for GATE for past 4 or 5 years. So today I'm going to give a short or like kind of a revision kind of thing to your HAL and HPCL examinations. So what I'm going to teach, I'm going to teach materials manufacturing and industrial engineering completely. So and I want to ask some few questions before starting the class. So I can see there are three people here. Harini, Jason, and Nandan. So, what can I expect? Like, already have you had some idea about all these topics of what are the topics that are there in, I mean, of course, HAL, HPCL, all the examinations are having the same syllabus of your GATE examination. So, how many of you have already done some GATE coaching or maybe have seen some material? Okay, I have some general ideas there, but not too much in depth of knowledge. Okay, what about Nandan and Harini? Okay, Nandan is a third year student. That's okay. Okay, actually, the thing is like if you already had some idea, then it would have been better. But as we don't have much time, okay, as we don't have much time, what I'll do is that I'll just move throughout some concepts. When I have these slides are of all are of GATE material slides. So I didn't prepare some separate slides, but I have some slides for question and answers. So what we'll do is that we'll just on a fly we'll see some concepts and formulas for metal cutting and machining today. So and we'll do that for 1 hour, and after that what we'll do, slowly we'll do some question and answers and the theory bits, so that through question and answers you'll be able to learn some kind of concepts and numericals also you can do. And also, as you know that in HL and HPCL are all online based test, and like GATE, you'll not be having any calculator in the examination. So all the calculations that you have to do will be hand calculations only. So mostly they give numericals such a way that you'll be able to do hand calculations only. But sometimes it might happen that they might give some complicated calculations, but it will depend upon your speed of the calculations. So that doesn't matter, but most of the times the calculations will be easy. So uh, I mean, if you have seen the notification also, like there is some, aptitude and general knowledge and some technical part. So in technical part, you have thermal sciences, design, and manufacturing and materials and industrial engineering. So from this, I think, from the 60%, let's say if 20% is for aptitude and 20% is for general knowledge and 60% is for this manufacturing and all. I mean, your technical part. In technical part, I think 20 marks approximately will be asked from this syllabus, that is materials manufacturing and industrial engineering. Okay, so fine. So let's proceed. I'll be little rushing away, because it's not about rushing, it's about like we have to cover it's kind of a revision lecture. It's not a complete in-depth lecture. So don't if you have any doubt specifically, you can post that in the chat box, then I'll be clarifying it. Or else we'll just on a fly we'll see the formula. If at all you want to, if I tell that you write the formula, you have a book, right? If you have a book and don't have a book, please take the book and catch a pen, so that if at all I say that this is an important point or this is an important formula, I hope you write that formula onto the book, and when I'm saying that let's solve this problem, you can use that formula and then you can solve the problem. So this is the way I'll proceed with today. And at the end of today, we'll see how this session has gone. If at all you have some, you want me to have your own way of teaching, so then I'll change my teaching style a little bit in the tomorrow's, or I mean the next coming session. Okay, fine. Let's start. So we are going to discuss machining and machine tool operations for today. And this is a pretty much syllabus for GATE examination. That is, you have mechanics of machining, basic machine tools, single point and multi-point cutting tools, tool geometry, materials, tool life and wear, economics of machining, principles of non-traditional machining process, principles of work holding devices, and jigs and fixtures. So all these things are there in GATE examination, and more or less the same syllabus will be there for your PSU examinations like HL and HPCL, whatever the examinations they are conducting. Come on. So basically, this is a simple setup for a metal cutting or machining, of course you can say. So we have machining process here, and what are the inputs? So you can see the arrows which are coming inside. These are inputs. We have power, blank in the sense you have raw material, you have machine, you have fixture, you have tools, you have environment. All these things are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and man is the 7. Of course, manpower is 7. So all these things are the inputs of your machining process, and output is your product. And after getting the product, you'll analyze the product, and then you see if there is any analyzation in the sense you are inspecting the product, right? You are, after manufacturing the product, you are not directly using it. Obviously, you have to inspect it. After inspecting, if at all you have some errors, or if your product is not right, or it is having some error, then what you do, you take the feedback and then you do the correction. Where is the error? Maybe your machine is having some error, or maybe fixture is not set up properly, or if there is a problem with the person, he is not a skilled labor, he didn't do the machining properly, or there is a blank material where the blank material is coming from some foundry section, it's not going well. So like that, there are some problems. All the problems will be corrected and it will be sent as feedback. Okay, this is all incoming back is called feedback here. So you give this feedback to the all the inputs, and then you correct the machining process and you get the exact product out of it. So this is all a simple layout of your machining process. And you can say what is the definition here? Simple definition. It is defined as converting raw material into desired product or finished good. A tool which is harder, obviously a tool should be harder compared to the workpiece. Workpiece in the sense like the thing that you're trying to machine is used to cut the workpiece using mechanical forces. So conventional metal cutting process, we will be using mechanical forces. And of course, as you're removing the material layer by layer, or you're removing the material in the terms of chips, so it is called subtractive manufacturing process. So this is a simple definition. And of course, we can see that why are we reading this metal cutting? We have to know what are the velocities and what are the cutting forces that are required for a machine, so that what are the capabilities of machine. So obviously, if you want to cut a material, you should have the capability of cutting that material. So what should be the capability of machine, so that you will be able to cut material up to the right amount. So obviously, we need to analyze some cutting forces and some cutting velocities. Of course, force into velocity gives rise to power. So we'll be trying to estimate the power. By estimating the power, we'll be able to identify what is the power consumption and also what is the electricity consumption. So by that, we'll be able to select an appropriate machine for appropriate tool and material. Okay. So this is what. So you can see here, tool is very harder in nature and workpiece is very, softer, or maybe you can say it is less harder compared to the tool. Okay. So what are the different type of cutting tools that are available? So we have single point cutting tool here. Okay, let me take this laser point. Okay, we have single point cutting tool here, and we have multi-point cutting tool. So what are the examples of single point cutting tool? So single point cutting tool, we have turning, facing, all these things are the machining operations through which we can attain the operation by using a single point cutting tool. In the sense, your cutting tool will be having a single point of action, because the point of cutting action will be happening at a single point. And multi-point in the sense, you have more points. So example, you have milling, drilling, grinding, all these things are having multi-point. So more than one cutting edge is available for removing the material from workpiece. So single point cutting is having a single cutting edge. Multi-point cutting tool is having a more than one cutting edge. Okay. So can anyone say how many cutting points are there for drilling? Anyone? Any one of you can say how many cutting points are there for drilling? Cutting edges or maybe cutting points for drilling. So how do you do drill? Anyone? Hello? Guys, are you with me? Okay. Can you guess, or can you make some how many cutting points, like how many cutting edges are there for a drilling cutter, or you can say drill bit? Anyone? Excellent, excellent. And then we have two cutting edges. You're right. You're right. So that's there. So we have two cutting edges for drilling. And then you can see here we have this is a simple lathe machine setup. Obviously, you might have seen in your BTech. I mean, even though somebody is in third year also, they might have already seen that in your first year itself. So simply you can see this is a chuck where you place your workpiece, and this is your tail stock where 1 minute. I think I should. 1 minute. Huh? Okay, fine. So we have, yeah. So this is the tailstock. So this is the place where we put the workpiece, and this is the tailstock which will support your workpiece from this side. And this is your tool carriage on which you put the tool, and this is a cross slide. This will be moving in this direction, and workpiece will be rotating in this direction like the spindle moves revolves with some RPM. And then you move your cutting point towards the radius, and that is called feed. I mean, you can see this direction is feed, and this direction is depth of cut. How much depth you're trying to put into the workpiece is called depth of cut. So this is a simple machinery that you can see. And so what are the important cutting parameters that we have? We have workpiece, we have cutting fluid, we have cutting process parameters like speed, feed, and depth of cut. Obviously, we have seen speed. Speed will be given to the chuck, that is in terms of RPM. Feed is given to the tool here, mm per revolution, and depth of cut will be given in mm. Okay. So what should be the workpiece? Obviously, if workpiece is ductile, let us say, then ductile workpiece means it is soft material. And if soft material is there, the cutting forces required are very less. Obviously, here the down arrow implies less, up arrow implies more. So soft material means cutting force will be required less, right? Like the requirement of the cutting force will be not more. And of course, if the cutting force is less, obviously power is F into V. So power consumption also will be less. As the power consumption is less, it means that the friction between the workpiece and tool also is less, and hence less tool wear. Like this, by workpiece itself, we can have some series of things that are happening here. So we will be able to analyze these things. Like brittle, it is quite opposite to this ductile material. Like brittle is very hard material, then cutting forces increase, then power consumption increase, so friction between the workpiece and tool increases, and hence tool wear also will be increasing like this. And another cutting parameter is cutting fluid. Obviously, when you're trying to do the cutting, there will be a friction between workpiece and the tool, right? Because of the friction, what happens? There is a heat generation happening. And because of heat generation, that might lead to tool failure. And if you don't want to get this heat generated, what you do? You put some kind of a cutting fluid. So the primary action of your cutting fluid is to cool the tool in the workpiece. And there are secondary operations, what can I say? Usage of your cutting fluid is like requirements. It can lubricate, it can do so many other actions. Fine. So what are the cutting parameters? Speed. Speed is given in RPM, that is revolutions per minute. Okay, revolutions per minute, that is denoted by N. And this is given to your chuck, like this, it will rotate. And this chuck, in this chuck only will be putting some axisymmetrical or cylindrical object clamped, okay, into the jaws. So that is speed. And feed is given as F, that is mm per revolution. Mm per revolution in the sense, for one revolution of your workpiece, how much this is trying to move. Okay, for one revolution of your workpiece, how much your tool is moving in this direction, that is your feed. For one revolution of your this object, how much you are trying to move in this direction is known as feed. And depth of cut is nothing but how much you are plunging in inside the workpiece, like this side, how much you are moving m. That's it. So that is your depth of cut. So speed can be converted into the circumferential speed velocities, like v is equal to pi dn by 60. So we have three different pi dn. Sometimes they write pi dn by 60, sometimes they write pi dn, sometimes they write pi dn by 1000 also. So each one is having their own unit. If you're writing pi dn by 60, it means that mm per second is your unit here for the velocity. Pi dn, if you're writing mm per minute, is your unit here. If you're writing pi dn by 1000, then it is meter per minute, like this. So if you see the workpiece, this is your cylindrical workpiece, then this is your cutting, velocity. This is your cutting velocity here. It's going up. This is your tool, and this is your rotating workpiece. Obviously, you can see here. This is a simple diagram. How much plunging action is going inside? That is your depth of cut. For one revolution, how much this side it is going? This is called feed. Okay. So these are the three important cutting parameters. Again, I repeat: cutting speed, feed, and depth of cut are the important cutting process parameters. Cutting speed is generated by n rpm, feed is generated by per revolution, depth of cut is given as And tool geometry, we have rake angle, relief angle, cutting angle, nose relief. So these are the important tool geometries. Okay. So first we're going to discuss some important angles here. That is your tool geometry for a single point cutting tool. So this is your tool geometry. I'm not going to delve into all these things. These are like, of course, this is I mean, this is not a complete in-depth lecture. It's a simple overview or kind of revision for your HAL and your HPCL examination. If you are going into deep, it will take 20 or 25 hours to teach all this complete metal cutting and all. So I'm just passing the slides. So this is how your cutting tool looks like. You have cutting edge, side relief angle, end relief angle, side rake angle, back rake angle, nose radius, shank, and cutting edge angle, all these things. So all these things are there. So these are arranged in some signature. This is some tool signature we have. What is a tool signature? The tool signature is this. This is what important is. So please remember this tool signature, and please you write down in your book also. The tool signature is this: alpha B, alpha S, theta E, theta S, CE, CS, and R. Alpha B is back rake angle, then side rake angle, then end relief angle, then side relief angle, side cutting edge angle, end cutting edge angle, and nose radius. So there is a way to remember this this thing. How do I remember this? Okay, because this is a very important question. They might ask this kind of small questions in your examination also. So I'll tell you how to remember this. So please remember the first two set. There is a couple, and this is another couple. This is another couple. The first couple belongs to rake angle. Okay. Second couple belongs to relief angle. And third couple belongs to cutting edge angles. So please remember, I'm writing here rake, relief, and cutting edge. Cutting edge. Okay. And then you have finally nose radius. In rake, you have two. In relief, you have two angles. In cutting edge, you have two angles. And please remember, every second is side angle. Side, side, side. Please remember this. Okay. So rake is generated by alpha. So alpha S, side rake angle, theta S, side relief angle, CS, side cutting edge angle. And the first one will come as alpha B, back rake angle, theta E, end cutting edge, end relief angle, CE, end cutting edge angle, and finally R. So please remember, this is what is this rake, relief, cutting edge angle is the series. In rake angle, you have two angles, alpha B, alpha S. In relief, you have two angles, that is theta E, theta S. In cutting edge angle, you have two angles, that is CE and CS. And please remember, every second in the couple will be corresponding to your side. Okay, please remember this. This is how I remember. You can also remember like this, or if you have any other ways to remember, you can also try to remember that. Okay. Any doubt till now here, guys? Hello? All clear. What about Harini and Nandan? Harini. Okay, fine. Please. If you have any doubt, please feel free to interrupt me in the chat box. I'll be able to answer your questions. Fine. Next. So we have all these things are simple. We have 6 angles, and this is called ASA system, that is American Society of Association. So this is what is ASA system, and please remember these are the angles in which. So in examination they might ask, like they'll give this question like 10, 12, 15, 3, 8, comma 5, 2. So they'll ask what is this. So obviously you should be able to say the 15 corresponds to your end relief angle. So this kind of questions will be asked. Okay, fine. Fine. So this is what is this full, and ORS system is not much discussed, and ORS system is like this. We have different angles here. That is I inclination angle, alpha orthogonal rake angle, side rake angle, theta s dash side relief angle, theta e dash end relief angle, C is end cutting edge angle, and lambda is approach angle, and R is principal. R is your nose radius. So this is how the tool signature of for orthogonal. Mostly they won't ask this kind of questions because orthogonal rake angle is not used in the shop floor. Mostly they'll try to use in AS system only. That's the reason why orthogonal system is not much discussed, and I hope they won't ask much here. Okay, fine. So this is simply the conversions between AS and ORS, and this is not a big deal. Don't worry about this. Then another is normal rake angle here. So before ORS and ASA, we have this NRS. NRS is simply a normal rake angle, and here we have only 2 angles to define all these things, that is alpha n and theta n. So please remember that this is how the evolution has come. NRS is first, then ASA, and then ORS. ORS and ASA are same thing. What is NRS? Normal rake system, American Society of Association, and then ORS is orthogonal rake system. So these two are important. In this, AS is more important. That is what is this. So please remember the AS system. I hope you have written this signature. Alpha B, alpha S, theta E, theta S, C E, C S, R. In every couple, the second one is S. Please remember that. That's it. Okay, let me remove this. Okay. Okay, there is one more important thing. You have to know the difference between a orthogonal cutting and an oblique cutting. So orthogonal cutting is nothing but, you can see in the diagram itself, you can easily see. So what is orthogonal cutting? Your cutting edge is this. Okay, and your velocity is this. Okay, so this is tool, and this is workpiece here, and this is of course chip. You can see this is chip. Okay, so this is your cutting edge. This is your cutting edge. If your cutting edge and this is your velocity, cutting velocity VC. If your cutting edge and velocity, cutting velocity are perpendicular to each other, then it is called orthogonal rake angle. Orthogonal cutting, sorry, orthogonal cutting. So you can say here, cutting edge is perpendicular to cutting velocity, or both are in 90 degrees. You can read here, if the cutting edge of tool is perpendicular to cutting velocity vector, then it is called orthogonal cutting process. That's it. If at all your cutting edge is inclined, okay, if your cutting edge is inclined with your cutting velocity, so this is sometimes obtuse, this is acute. So both obtuse or acute, whatever it is, if you are seeing from this thing, this is acute angle. So if at all it is not equal to 90 degrees, then it is called oblique cutting angle. And here, if you see in orthogonal system, I is the inclination angle here. So you can see this I. Okay, this I is your inclination angle. So please remember, this is important point here. I is equal to 0 for orthogonal cutting, and I is not equal to 0 for your oblique cutting. But before I, the important point to remember is cutting edge is perpendicular to cutting velocity here. Cutting edge is not perpendicular to cutting velocity here. That is the important point that you have to remember. Okay. Next is everything is discussed in detail. Not much is important here. So this is your back rack angle. In back rack angle, how you have three difference. One is positive back rack angle, another is negative back rack angle, or zero back rack angle, then negative back rack angle. So please remember, positive back rack angle is used for ductile materials. Okay, this is your positive back rack angle alpha B. That is for ductile materials. Zero back rack angle is used for your machining brass, and also it is used for thread cutting also. And negative back rack angle is used for brittle. So please remember, positive with ductile material, negative brass material, zero is for brass material, and negative is for brittle materials. Okay, and side rack angle is used for, like, it will try to compensate the chip bending, and it ranges from 5 to 15 degrees. Relief angle is trying to relieve. Why is relief angle used? Relief angle is used to avoid the rubbing action between the tool and the workpiece, and the range is 5 to 15. And cutting edge angle is mainly because you have some surface roughness. To measure the surface roughness after the machining, then this side cutting edge angle and end cutting edge angle will be useful. So the formula here is very important here. That is equal to H max is equal to F by F is feed. F is equal to feed. That is here mm per revolution by tan CS plus cot CE. Okay, tan CS, tan of side cutting edge angle plus cot CE is your end cutting edge angle. H max is nothing but maximum peak to valley height. So if your surface roughness profile is like this is your peak and this is your valley. So maximum peak to valley height is H max, and this is your RA. RA is called as central and average. This is one of the way you can measure the surface roughness, and central and average is given by H max by 2. That's it. So you can say if your side cutting edge angle is more, if your this angle is more, then you can say this RA value is more. It means that if your RA value is more, means so many peaks and valleys are there, it means the surface finish is very poor. If side cutting edge angle is more, then RA is less, then good surface finish. So by this you can say side cutting edge angle, end cutting edge angle should be less, and side cutting edge angle should be more for good surface finish. That's it. That is what is your important part. So please, this is the important formula that you have to note down. That is H max is equal to F by tan CS plus cot CE. Okay guys, are you with me? Hello? Okay, yes, good. Very good, very good. Let's proceed. And next is nose radius. Please remember, this is also important formula. That is here H max is equal to F square by 8R. And where R is denoted in the nose radius. If your nose radius is getting increased, obviously H max is increasing. H max is increasing means RA is increasing. RA is increasing means your surface finish is very poor. Okay, so this is the important formula that you have to understand. F square by 8R. F is your feed. R is your nose radius. So please, if you have time, please note down this. H max is equal to F by tan CS plus cot CE, and H max is equal to F square by 8R. Okay, I'll put this, copy this formula, these two formulas, this formula and this formula you copy. And this also you copy. H max is equal to F square by 8R. Okay, done. Let's proceed. So there are so many ways of, okay, previous. Okay, this one. Okay, okay, this one. Okay. Okay, okay, good, good. And this is F square by 8R. Okay, you just copy it. Don't write it in fair. I'll provide the slides. You can take the slides and you can use it. I'll just send it to Dinesh. You can get it from him. No problem. Just write in a rough page so that when I'm telling you to solve the problem, you'll be using the formula. That's the reason I'm telling you to write. That's it. It's not. Or if you don't want to write, you can take the snapshots and keep it. That's it. Okay, fine. So mechanism of chip formation. So obviously there are so many ways to chip formation, but I'm not going to dwell in it. So just it's a revision. So we can say it's a simple phi is your shear angle here, and gamma is your clearance angle here. Alpha is your rake angle here. V is your cutting speed, and tool face, rake angle, chip. All these things are there. So please remember phi is shear angle. So the cutting action takes place in this plane. The shear takes place in this plane, and it is making with cutting velocity. That angle is phi. This is alpha, and this is tool. This is the clearance. This clearance is given. I told you already. It is trying. If tool is not given clearance with the workpiece, then tool and workpiece will be rubbing each other, which will destroy the surface finish of your workpiece. That's the reason why we are putting clearance angles here. That is your theta E, theta S, that is your relief angles, right? And this is your T naught, that is your chip thickness before cutting. TC is your chip after cutting. So I'll write this as T1 and T2. That is in next slide. I'll show you that. Also, this is the simple mechanism. Just not just put here. Okay. Okay. So this is how this is happening. And important points to be noted here is, if you have some ductile material, then continuous chips are formed. If you have brittle materials, then discontinuous chips are formed. Please, important point: ductile material, continuous chips; brittle material, discontinuous chips. Okay, please, important point that I have to note it: ductile material, continuous chips; brittle material, discontinuous chips. So these are the important parameters for your discontinuous chips. Workpiece and hard and brittle workpiece can be done. Workpieces having some inclusions, low speed, high feed rate, low back rake angle, high friction, low stiffness of materials. All these things are the factors that are influencing the discontinuous chip. Okay. Continuous chip is nothing but, already told you, ductile material, right? Because I told you continuous ductile material, discontinuous brittle material. That's the reason first one, hard or brittle, discontinuous chips; ductile material, continuous chips. So high speed, low feed rate, low depth of cutting, high back rake angle, less friction between tool and chip. All these things are the factors that are influencing the cutting chip that is to be continuous. And next, another thing is called built-up edge formation. So built-up edge formation is this. You can see here built-up edge formation. So when you're trying to cut, this is your cutting tool, and this is your chip, and this is your workpiece. When you're trying to shear it off, what happens? If your material is ductile in nature, and if your velocities are little, slow speed cutting, then what happens? There is some kind of a built-up edge that is trying to form onto the cutting edge here, and that will indeed increase the cutting forces, which is not good. So built-up edge formation is not good for your metal cutting. Okay. Okay. So can you try to solve this problem, sir? Guys? Okay, I'll tell you for continuous chips, for discontinuous chip, low speed is required. Please remember, for discontinuous chip, low speed is required. For continuous chip, high speed is required. For discontinuous chip, low speed is required. For continuous chip, high speed is required. So this is the important point for this question. Please try to solve this question. Anyone? I'm writing again. Discontinuous chip, low speed; continuous chip, high speed is required. Anyone with the answer? Read the question properly. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay, I got an answer from Jason A. Any other answers from any other people? Okay, Harin also is A. Okay, why are you saying A? Any reason behind it? During the phase turning of ductile material. Okay, you're saying ductile and you're saying it is A. Okay, but it's not about okay, you're saying optimum speed. Okay, it's not about all these things. The important thing is it's a phase turning operation. This is what the catch point here. So this kind of tricky questions can be asked. Okay, phase turning. What is phase turning? Phase turning is nothing but if you have a cylindrical block like this of length some L or maybe of length some 10 mm, then what you're trying to do, you remove some portion of the face. So you're trying to reduce it to some 9 mm. That's it, 9 mm. Okay. So you do that by using some facing operation. It means you're trying to remove this complete face. How do you do facing operation? If you see from this view, your cutting tool is put here, then you try to go inside, then you reach the center. When you start this thing to this thing, the complete block will be removed. So this is your face turning operation. This is your cutting tool. Okay. So if at all this is rotating with some rpm n, what is the let us say this is radius r. So what is the velocity? I'll write 3 points, 1, 2 and 3. So v1, v2, v3. And out of all these three, okay, we'll see that. Out of all these three, who is bigger? V1, V2, V3. Who is bigger? Hello, V1. Yes, V1 is bigger because you have some, I told you pi d n. So pi d n by 60 or pi d n, whatever is it. We have V1 is V1 is greater than V2 is greater than V3. So as your V1 is more, it means that at this point cutting velocity is more. At V3 cutting velocity is less. This is high speed and this is low speed. So at high speed, continuous chip, at low speed, discontinuous chip. So continuous in the beginning, obviously you're right, Nandan, you're right. Continuous in the beginning because V1 is high, so continuous chip, high speed, continuous chip. And low speed at towards the end because you're starting from outer and you're reaching to the inner. So as you're reaching to the center, your velocity is getting reduced. So you're getting a discontinuous chip. So answer is C. Continuous at the starting and discontinuous at the end. So this kind of tricky questions can be asked in the examination. Okay. Let's proceed. Any other doubts, sir? Anyone? All clear? Hello? Okay, fine. Next. So this is analysis of orthogonal machining. Obviously, we are trying to do this orthogonal. Orthogonal means what? Your cutting edge is perpendicular to the cutting velocity. You should know that. Okay. So alpha is rake angle, and then I told you T1 is your uncut chip thickness, T2 is cut chip thickness, B1 and B2. We are not seeing here B1, B2. What is B1, B2? B1, if I'm drawing like this is your like this, right? So this is your B1 and your chip is coming like this. So this is your B2. Okay, sir, in previous question they said optimum cutting speed. What does it mean? Optimum means nothing but like actually for some machining you fix the rotation RPM. That is what is optimum. So don't worry about this optimum. Okay. Important point is to be noted is phase turning. Okay, optimum in the sense like right. I think they are over defining the problem, but they are optimum cutting velocity in the sense the rotations, the spindle speed is some RPM that is fixed, that is optimum. Okay, that is what they're saying. So optimum in the sense for a fixed value, then what is happening at the beginning and what is happening at the end. Okay. So this is your B1 and B2 that are widths here, and T1 and T2 are uncut chip thickness, cut and uncut chip thicknesses, and L1 and L2 are length of the chip before and after machining. VC is your cutting velocity. So this is your VC cutting velocity. VF is your chip flow velocity, and Vs is your shear velocity. So let me clear the ink and I'll tell you again. So I will take some different ink here. Okay, this is the ink. So VC cutting velocity is in this direction. VF, that here chip velocity is in this direction. VS shear is happening in this direction. So VC, VF and Vs, like this. There are three vectors of velocity here. Okay, please remember this point. So then there are some assumptions. This is not important. Important thing is here this thing, that is here chip thickness ratio. Chip thickness ratio is given as uncut chip thickness by cut chip thickness, that is T1 by T2. That is T1 by T2. Okay, T1 by T2. That is here uncut chip thickness by cut chip thickness. Okay, sometimes you can write as L2 by L1. Cut length by uncut length, or you can write chip velocity divided by cutting velocity. So all these things will be defined as chip thickness ratio. R is defined as chip thickness ratio. Please remember this. I hope you already know this. Okay. T1 by T2 is equal to L2 by L1 is equal to VF by VC is equal to R. Chip thickness ratio. So there is nothing, there is a derivation. Okay. And next important formula that to be noted is phi. That is here shear angle. If you want to find out the shear angle, this is the formula. Tan phi is equal to R cos alpha by 1 minus R sin alpha. What is this phi? Phi is shear angle here. R is chip thickness ratio, like previous slide we have, right? R is your chip thickness ratio, and then alpha is your rake angle, orthogonal rake angle. Okay, please remember, very important formula in GATE, in any other local examinations, in engineering service examination, whatever examination it is. This is the basic important question they'll ask. What is shear angle? Shear angle is given as tan phi is equal to R cos alpha by 1 minus R sin alpha. Please remember, R cos alpha. Don't write R sin alpha by 1 minus R. You might get confusion. Please remember, tan phi is equal to R cos alpha by 1 minus R sin alpha. Please remember this formula. Yes, why shear angle is so important? It's because you can, if you go and see here, the shear angle here is between this, right, like this, right? You can see here. So if the shear angle is increasing, so this might increase your cutting forces. This might reduce your cutting forces. So the force again, okay, shear angle will lead to some cutting forces, some improvement or decrement in cutting forces, which will lead to power consumption, right? So you want to cut your what you say, the material using minimum power, minimum cutting forces. For minimum cutting forces, we can decide what is the shear angle. So shear angle is very important. That's the reason why we're trying to calculate the shear angle. Okay. Yeah. So fine. Please remember, tan phi is equal to R cos alpha by 1 minus R sin alpha. And this is called velocity triangle analysis. It's very important. So as I told you, we have three different velocities: VC, VS, and VF. So I'm just trying. So as we can, all these velocities are vectors. We can move the vectors in a space anywhere you can put. So the vector is moving. VC is this, and then we are putting like this. VF is this, then we are putting like this. VS is this, then we are putting like this. Okay. So then we are trying to form a triangle. So with these three velocities, 1, 2, 3 velocities, we are trying to form a triangle. So we formed a triangle. Then we have some angles here. This is phi, this is alpha. Okay. This is phi. This is, you know, alpha, because it is because VF is making alpha with, you know, this thing, right? Alpha, and this is 90 minus alpha. This is here 90 minus 5 minus alpha. So you can use this Lami's theorem or sine rule. That is here VC divided by sine of opposite angle, VS divided by sine of opposite angle, VF divided by sine of opposite angle. Hence VC is equal to VC by sine 90 minus 5 minus alpha is equal to VS by sine 90 minus phi. That is by sine 90 minus phi. And then Vf by opposite sine angle, Vf by sine phi. So this is your simple sine rule, or you can call as Lami's rule, Lami's theorem also. So then obviously sine I can write as cos phi minus alpha, Vs by cos phi, cos 90 minus alpha cos alpha, and Vf by sine phi. So this is very, very important. Please note this down. Very important. Please note this down. Please note the triangle. Please note this. Please note this and this also. Okay, done. Is that proceed? Okay, good. Okay. So can anyone try this question? For this question, you can try to use the calculator. I don't have any problem, but in examination, they'll give questions in such a way that there is no need of any calculator. Can you try this question? Okay, let me give you 1 minute. Please try. Let's see how many can attempt this question. Simple formula. Tan phi is equal to, I'll write here. Tan phi is equal to r cos alpha by 1 minus r sin alpha. Because he's trying to ask what? Shear angle only, right? This is your shear angle, phi. So now I think you can find the problem. What is required? R is required and alpha is required. Alpha is given or not? Yes. Alpha. What is alpha? Rake angle, 50 degrees. Right? So what is given? Let's see. So the following data correspond to orthogonal turning operation of diameter D is equal to 100 mm, and on a lathe rake angle is, that is 15 degree, and uncut chip thickness T1 is 0.5 mm and T2 is 1.25 mm. Okay, so obviously you have to find the R. R is equal to T1 by T2, that is 0.5 by 1.25. So hence R value you can write as 1 by 5, or you can write, sorry, okay, the 0.5 by 1.25 will give you 0.4. Once you got R, simply you can write R is 0.4 cos 15 divided by 1 minus 0.4 into sine of 15. And then you can find this total value. After finding this total value, you can inverse it. Then you can find the value of tan inverse it. You can find the value. Then that is 23.31 degrees. This is the answer. 21.817. I think somewhere you made a mistake, Jason. Where is it? The same values you're getting? It's 23.31 according to my calculation here. What about others? What about other two? Oh, okay, you made a mistake. Okay, good. What about Nandan and Harini? Okay, we got it. Good. Okay, let's move. So this is another question. Same thing. I don't want to you solve this. I'll when I give this, the answer is 1.49. Okay, this is kind of homework for you. You can try this, or you can ask me in the next class. And this is another question you can try to check. Important point is here. Sometimes this is the important point to be noted. Sometimes what happens is they won't give you the uncut chip thickness and cut chip thickness in direct way. They'll give you in a different sense. The sense is here: feed is considered as uncut chip thickness, and depth of cut is considered as width of uncut chip. Okay, so please remember, feed can be denoted as T1 and depth of cut can be denoted as B1. Please remember these two important points. Okay, if this sometimes feed also can be written as 0.4 mm per revolution, that has uncut chip thickness. Sometimes depth of cut also can be written as uncut width width of uncut chip, that is B1. So this is the important point to be noted. And there is a shear strain. I don't want to give the derivation. This is the derivation. The formula is here. Here the formula is this. Please remember. Okay, let me take different ink here. So this is the important formula. That is your, I'm writing here, gamma is your shear strain. That is your cot phi plus tan phi minus alpha. This is the important point to be noted. Gamma is equal to cot phi plus tan phi minus alpha. Come on. Okay, so this is the important formula you have to remember. Please remember, phi is your shear angle, alpha is your rake angle, gamma is your shear strain. That's it. Okay, please remember this. Please write this. So this is a derivation, but not required. This is a formula, and this is also not required much. Forget about this. And this is degrees. You're talking about what? Gamma. Okay, gamma is not having any what you say, strain. No, it is not having any units. Yeah. I thought of shear angle. Shear angle is degrees. Strain is not having any units. It's simply unitless. Okay, good. So this is a simple formula based question. If you want, you can solve. So what is trying to ask is this thing. What is that? Orthogonal turning of mild steel tube with rake angle 10. So what is given? Please write what is given. 10. Rake angle 10 degrees. And then it is carried out of feed. I told you feed can be written as T1, right? So T1 is equal to 0.14 mm, right? And T2 is, if the thickness of the produced is T2 is 0.28. So this is 0.28. And what is telling us to find? Shear angle and shear strain. Shear angle is nothing but phi. You have to find. For phi, what you have to find? Obviously, you have to find R. So R is how much? T1 by T2. That is 0.14 by 0.28 is equal to 0.5 is R, and then tan phi is equal to R cos alpha by 1 minus R sin alpha. Then you substitute that angles here. That is your 0.5 into cos, what is angle 10 divided by 1 minus 0.5 into sin 10. So just calculate this total value and inverse it. Then phi will be given as 28.20. This is your answer. And once you get phi, you can find the gamma. Gamma is what? The previous formula, cot phi plus tan phi minus alpha, right? And gamma is equal to, you have phi now. Phi is 28.20 plus tan of 28.20 minus 10. So obviously, if you calculate these things, then you'll get 2.19. So option is A. Okay. So this is how you can easily find out. So once you have phi, then you can find the gamma also. Okay, fine. And another is shear stress. So we have found shear strain, and shear stress is this. Shear stress is this. Then you can call as shear strength also. So that is, this is the important formula that you have to note it. That is Fs sin phi by T1 B1. Fs is shear force. Sin phi is your shear angle. T1 is uncut chip thickness. B1 is thickness of, uncut width. Okay, thickness of uncut width. Okay, so this one again here it is written as A1 actually here. So please forget this is your important formula that you have to remember. Ts is equal to Fs sin phi by T1 B1. That's it. Okay, important formula. So this is the derivation, not required now. Just you can have a look after some time. And of course, we have 3 cutting forces. So we are done with the cutting velocities now. Then we are trying to go into cutting forces. So what we have here, we have 3 different forces. One is your cutting force, another is your feed force, and then you have some thrust force. So cutting force and thrust forces are very important. So this is your cutting force like this, and this is your thrust force like this. Cutting force is coming onto the chip, is coming onto the tool here like this. Longitudinal, as you're trying to give feed, because of feed, thrust force is coming onto picture. And because of these two, we have some resultant forces. And if you're going for the percentage wise, cutting force is 67%, and longitudinal thrust force is 27%. And whatever the resultant is in this direction, that is your I can say this x, y, and z. So this is your y axis, this is your x axis, and this is your z axis, let us say. So if you see the angles here, cutting force is in y axis, Fc, and thrust force is like this, that is Ft, and Fr is radial force, that is like this. Cutting force is more than thrust force is more than Fr. So I can say Fc is greater than Ft is greater than Fr. So this is almost 67%, and this is Ft is 27%, and Ff is approximately 6%. So now we choose this 1 minute. Hello. Guys, okay, good. Okay, so let's proceed. I had a phone call to attend. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so this is how. So generally radial forces are neglected, and Fc and Ft are considered. Fc is a cutting force, Ft is a thrust force, and R is your resultant force. So okay, and so this is your Merchant-Select diagram. So there are so many forces onto the chip flow. So if we say this is your workpiece, okay, let me take this thing, laser pointer. Okay, so this is your tool, and this is your workpiece, and this is your alpha, and the angle, the force that is trying to, the chip is trying to flow over the rake face, and this is your frictional force F, and perpendicular to the frictional force you have normal force N, and this is your resultant force, that is your diameter of your total circle here. And then this is your shear force, and this is your shear force perpendicular normal to the shear force. This is Fs shear force, this is Fs shear force, and this is your shear force perpendicular to the force. Okay, perpendicular shear force is Fsn, that is shear force normal to the shear force. And then this is your cutting force, you can see this is your Fc, and perpendicular cutting force we have Ft. So for every two forces, like for F and N, resultant force is R, and for Fs and Fsn, resultant force is R, and Fc and Ft, resultant force is R. So for all these things, we have resultant forces that are R. And now you can see this is F is your frictional force acting between rake face, N is normal force, Fs is shear force, Fsn is this thing, cutting force and thrust forces. All these things are Merchant force. So everything is done in a Merchant circle. So this is important realization that you have to observe, that is R is the common diameter here. So please note down this thing, that is R is equal to F by sin beta, N by sin cos beta, Ft by sin beta minus alpha, Fc by cos beta minus alpha, Fsn by sin phi plus beta minus alpha, Fs by cos phi plus beta minus alpha. So what is beta? Beta is nothing but friction angle, and beta can be found out by given if at all a coefficient of friction is given, that is here mu is equal to tan beta, or if you want to find beta, beta is equal to tan inverse of mu. What is mu? Mu is the coefficient of friction between the tool and the chip interface. Okay, so this is the important formula that you have to remember. Formula in the sense like you can derive this, because how you can derive, it's nothing but you have to find out this angles first, and then what you have to do, then you have to take some triangle here. Each triangle, let's say if you are taking triangle OAB, this is OAB, and then you know in triangle OAB sine beta is equal to, what is sine beta? Sine beta, so this is your beta, sine beta is equal to this angle by this angle, right? So that is your F by R. So sin beta is equal to F by R, and N is equal to, cos beta is equal to N by R, like this. R is the common term, R. So you remove all the R's and put here, that is F by sin beta, everything is equal here. Like this, you got this formula. And this is all. So please remember, in some cases they'll say that like you have to use the merchant first analysis and second analysis. So this all merchant first analysis says that you have to do that for minimum cutting power. This is your FC into VC, and this is the important formula, that is here 2 phi plus beta minus alpha is equal to 90. So this is a simple empirical relation kind of thing where you're getting, not empirical, some derived quantity only, but which will be used in cases where you are unable to find out this phi and beta and alpha. So this is the relation, that is 2 phi plus beta minus alpha is equal to 90. And another merchant analysis given as 2 phi plus beta minus alpha is equal to cot inverse K. K is your machining constant. So these are the two important formulas that you have to remember. 2 phi plus beta minus alpha is equal to 90. Phi is your shear angle, beta is your friction angle, alpha is your rake angle. Okay, K is your machining constant here. Okay, and another one is Lee-Schaffer analysis, that is like phi plus beta minus alpha is equal to 45 degrees. So this is your Lee-Schaffer analysis. Mostly they'll be using merchant analysis 1 only, sometimes merchant 2, and least cases they'll be trying to use this Lee and Schaffer analysis. Okay, so can you try this question, anyone? It's a very easy and important question. Okay, let me come back to this question after some time. Let me discuss something. Okay, and okay, this is an important formula again. So total kinetic energy is given as Fc into Vc, that is Fs into Vs plus F into Vf. So these are the important formula, that is your frictional force into cutting force into cutting velocity is equal to shear force into shear velocity plus frictional force into chip flow velocity. So this is your total cutting energy, and this is your frictional energy, this is your shear energy, and this is your cutting energy. So total cutting energy is equal to this one. Okay, these are some problems which are next is your specific cutting energy, that is your U is equal to cutting power by MRR, and cutting power is given as cutting velocity into cutting force into cutting velocity. MRR is nothing but volume of metal removed by time. So MRR can be given as field depth of cut into cutting velocity. So MRR is equal to Fc into Vc by FdVc. Vc got cancelled. So Fc by Ft. So this is your specific cutting energy. Specific cutting energy is cutting power by MRR, or you can write as Fc by F into D. Fc is cutting force, F is feed, and D is your depth of cut. So there are three different of primary heat generations, that are primary zone, secondary zone, and the tertiary zone. So you can see here, this is your primary zone, that is between workpiece and the chip. Secondary zone is between tool and the chip. Tertiary zone is between tool and the workpiece. So these are the three zones of heat generation. And tool failure, surface finish is one of the parameters. You can say tool failure. So if your surface finish is bad, then indicates there is a tool failure. If your forces in machining is increasing, then tool failure. If your power consumption is increasing, then tool failure. If your color of chip is normal conditions in blue and metallic, if your color of chip is like black color, then you can say there is a tool failure. So these are the indications of tool failure. And there are two different of tool wears, that is your flank wear and the crater wear. Crater wear is created on the rake face, and flank wear is created on the relief surface. This is your relief face, rake face. So crater wear is created onto the rake face, flank wear is created onto the relief face. Please remember these two important wears. And next one important is Vt power n is equal to constant, that is your Taylor's tool life equation. And where V is the cutting speed, T is the tool life, C is the constant, and C constant depends upon tool and the workpiece. And N is the tool life exponent, which will depend upon the tool material. Please remember, Vt power n is equal to constant. If you're drawing the plot between Vt power n, it looks some kind of a rectangular hyperbola. And if you're trying to put a log, then it will look like a straight line, that is your declining straight line. The slope will be negative. Okay, and the modification of your Taylor's expansion is modified Taylor's two-life equation, that is Vt power n into f into a, f to the power of a and d to the power of b is equal to constant. So Vt power n, f to the power of a, b to the power of b is equal to constant. F is speed, b, d is depth of cut, n, a, b are some exponents, two-life exponents. And this is not much important for next one is, you have to remember, this is okay. Can you solve this problem? This problem can be solved by Vt power n is equal to constant. Please tell me what is the answer for this. Anyone? Guys? Excellent. Excellent, Jason. C is the right answer. You're obsolete. What about Harini? I think Nandan has left. What about Harini? Excellent, excellent, Harini. You're right. So let me solve this problem here. Both of them are right, but for the sake of understanding, let me write the solution here. The solution goes like this. You have what? In a machining operation, doubling the cutting speed, or doubling the cutting speed in the sense like you have some velocity v1 and you have some velocity v2. In the sense you are doubling the velocity, that is your v1, v2 is equal to 2v1. Okay, and the 2 life reduces to 1/8. So t1 is a original 2 life, and t2 will be how much? t1 by 8. That's it. So the exponent of 2 life equation, simple question, that is your Vt power n is equal to constant, and then you can write v1 t1 to the power of n is equal to v2 t to the power of n, and then substitute the values. So v1 t1 to the power of n will be same, and v2 I can write as 2 into v1, and t2 I can write as t1 by 8 to the power of n, and v1 gets cancelled, t1 gets cancelled. So what will I get? This is 2, I'll send this side. 1 by 2 is equal to 1 by 8 to the power of n, and 1 by 2 is equal to 1 by 2 to the power of 3. So obviously 3n, sorry. So obviously n is equal to 1 by 3. This is 1, right? So answer is C. Good. In the same way you can solve this problem also, but anyways, sometimes he'll be giving this modified two life equation. You can use like this and solve this problem. Anyways, you can do that. It's not an issue. Same thing. And this also same thing. This also same thing. Okay, then we'll go into some milling operations. Obviously, this is a multi-point cutting. So this is a simple up milling and down milling. What is the difference between up milling and down milling? Your workpiece is coming like this, and your cutter is rotating like this. So your cutter motion and the workpiece are in opposite directions. So you can see here, workpiece and cutter on opposite directions. Then it is called up milling. Down milling is this. Your cutter motion is in this direction, like this, and your the workpiece motion is like the same direction. So if workpiece and cutter in the same direction, then it is called down milling. So this is the important point that you have to note. So these are important points for up milling and down milling. And then this is your slab milling operation. You can see these are the important milling cutters. So you can see your workpiece axis and these things are perpendicular to each other. So then it is called slab milling operation. And next is face milling operation. Sorry. 1 minute. Okay. So this axis and the plane are perpendicular. So this plane and this axis are parallel to each other. Then it's called slab milling operation. So this is parallel. This plane and the axis of cutter are parallel to each other. Hence it's called slab milling. And if at all this plane this plane and the cutter axis are perpendicular to each other, then it is called face milling operation. So please remember, plane is parallel to the cutter axis, then it is slab milling. Plane is perpendicular to the this thing, then it is, oh, where did I go? Come on. Okay. Please remember, cutter is parallel to the surface being machined, slab machining, and cutter is perpendicular to this thing, face milling operation. And if there is a mix of face milling and the slab milling, then it is called end milling. This is called end milling. And this is some formula. And please remember, machining time is given by this formula, that is equal to machining time is equal to L by Fn. This is machining time. This is your length of cut, feed, and RPM. Please remember, machining time, write this down in your books. Machining time, how much time you are trying to machine. This is how you have to calculate, because you have to estimate, right? Machining time is equal to length by feed into RPM. This is length of cut, this is feed, and this is RPM, number of rotations. Okay, cutting velocity. Okay, please remember this important point, L by Fn. So this is drilling, and we have some drilling things which are not important. Here we have some point angle. Okay, please remember this. In drilling, we have drill geometry. This is your, like this drill, and this is your 2 beta, that is your point angle. Okay. So let's see if there are some questions when we're discussing the questions. So these are the cutting, peripheral speed, that is your pi dn. D is the diameter of drill bit, N is the speed of rotation of drill. Feed rate is this thing, and the depth of cut is given like this. And we'll see in problems. Then, and MRR is given by this formula, that is pi d square by 4 into F into N. And machining time is given, obviously, length of cut divided by F into N. Already I told you that. Okay. So this is a problem. So this is grinding. Grinding is happening. It is used for what? Why grinding is used? Grinding is used for desired surface finish, because you have done something and you want to get a good accurate surface finish. That's the reason why you have to do the grinding operation. So this is open structure. We can discuss this, and this is as a designation of your grinding wheel. And the important point is grinding ratio. Grinding ratio is nothing but volume of the material removed from the workpiece divided by the volume of the wear of the grinding wheel. So it is a ratio of both the wears, but it is a ratio of volume of material that is removed from the workpiece, which is desired, and volume divided by the volume of the wear of the grinding wheel, so which is not desired. So grinding wheel should not be weared fast. Your workpiece should be weared fast, right? So grinding wheel, so the grinding ratio should be normally varying from 75 to 125. If it is increasing, then it's not good. Okay. Or if it is increasing, it's good. Sorry. Okay. And then we will go to non-traditional. In non-traditional, we have different energies, that is thermal energy, EDM, LBM, PM, EBM, IBM. So what is this? EDM is electric discharge machining, LBM is laser beam machining, plasma arc machining, electron beam machining, ion beam machining. So this all things will be machinings are non-traditional manufacturing machining process, and which will come under this thermal energy methods, because they'll be using thermal energy as their way of removing the material from the workpiece. Another way of removing the material workpiece is electrochemical energy methods, that is your electrochemical machining and electrochemical grinding. Next method is chemical energy methods, that you can use as chemical machining. And mechanical ways also can be used, that is your ultrasonic machining, abrasive jet machining, and water jet machining. So these are the different forms of kind of energies that can be classified, which are the primary sources of or major energy sources for removing the material from your workpiece. And these are called non-traditional manufacturing process, because we are not using conventional mechanical energies. We are trying to use different sources of energies. And also, one of the important difference between a conventional and unconventional, or maybe a non-traditional manufacturing process, is that you need not have your tool and workpiece in contact. Okay, in conventional machining process, your tool has to go and touch the workpiece, and then it will remove. Here it is not required that your tool has to go and touch the workpiece, because laser is coming from some tool and it is directly touching the workpiece. There is no direct contact between your tool and the workpiece. Like that, there is no pakka. It's not sure that your tool is touching the workpiece. There is a physical contact between the tool in the workpiece. So then we can go here. So this is the way through ECM process runs, simple process. And the important point to be noted here in ECM process is this. So we have some electrolyte here, that is your NaCl solution. When you're trying to dip this tool into the electrolyte solution, and as this is your workpiece and this is your tool, and there is electrolyte between this workpiece and tool because of some chemical reaction. How the chemical reaction is ignited? Because of some electricity. So because this is connected to your negative terminal and this is connected to the positive terminal, you can see this is your negative and positive. Because of some electricity passage, because of electricity, the electrolyte particles are ignited and some chemical reaction is happening, and material removal is happening here in electrochemical machining. Okay, so again I say, because of electricity, there is some chemical reaction happening into the electrolyte, which is in between the workpiece and the tool. Because of the electrochemical reaction, the workpiece material is getting removed. And the surface finish is very good in this case because atom by atom this material is getting removed. And the material removal rate of tool is very low. So tool wear is very low in this case. And this is the formula for your material removal rate, that is your EI by rho into F. E is your chemical equivalent, I is your current that is passed, rho is your density of your material, and F is the Faraday's constant. And E is what? Electrochemical chemical equivalent, and E chemical equivalent can be written as atomic weight by valency. So I can write as AI by V rho F. Sometimes I can write like that also. So, okay, Y is tool connected to next. Okay, so tell me one question: is current flow? If at all you are trying to put terminals positive and negative, from which to which the current is getting passed? Negative to positive or positive to negative? Current. Which terminal to which terminal current is passing? In which direction? Negative to positive, positive to negative. That is electron movement. Current is passing from negative to, yeah, you're right, positive to negative. But electrons are moving from negative to positive. Okay, electrons are moving from negative to positive, and current is moving from positive to negative. Now you got the point. So as electrons should move from here to here, that electrons are moving and going and hitting it. Got the point? Yes. So this is the important MRR. No need much here. Okay. This is a simple formula here. And next is electrode discharge machining, and same like electrochemical machining only, but the only difference here is that you have a spark here that is created between the fluid. There the fluid is electrolyte, here the fluid is dielectric. And dielectric in the sense, here electrolyte it means some NaCl solution, some neutral solution, NaCl solution. And here dielectric means some kerosene, some grade of kerosene here. So here what happens when you are trying to have tool and workpiece, and you connect it with some terminal, negative and positive, and when you're trying to pass some current, what happens? The dielectric, there is some dielectric which is not allowing the current. After some kind of potential difference, but because you are trying to apply huge potential difference between this tool and workpiece, because of this huge potential difference, what is happening? There is some kind of a dielectric breakdown happening. Because of that dielectric breakdown, what happens is that there is some spark ignited for a momentary time. Momentary in the sense very momentary, very small amount of time. The spark is created with huge amount of temperature. The temperatures will be around 10,000. So because of that small momentary creation of spark, and which leads to high amount of current, high amount of temperature, that temperature will melt the material and remove the material. So this is how the electrode discharge machining is removing the material from workpiece. Okay, please remember high voltage and low current process. And this is the mechanism through which it is happening. And this is okay. This is your equipment for your electric discharge machining. And this is your circuit analysis. These are the formulas which are not very much important. And another way of doing electrode discharge machining is your wire. So we have simple wire here. The wire is wound to some spool, and the spool is getting unwound, and that wire is coming in contact with the workpiece. So wire is tool now, workpiece is here, and instead of pouring kerosene, you are trying to pour some deionized water. So please remember, deionized water is used for dielectric here in the wire EDM process, and the cutting is happening. Same mechanism, same spark, everything is happening, but dielectric, the fluid here is deionized water. That's it. And next is ultrasonic machining. Ultrasonic machining, how it is removed? we have some tool, we have some mechanism here. Some mechanism will make sure that this tool is vibrating in ultrasonic range, and that tool is giving. So what are the small dots? These small dots are some abrasive slurry materials. Abrasive in the sense like some slurry of abrasive and some water. So some small particles plus some water is mixed and put in between the tool and the workpiece. And when the tool is vibrated in some ultrasonic frequency, that frequency of vibration will be passed on to the particles, and that particle will attain some momentum, and that momentum will go and hit the workpiece material. Because of the impact of the abrasive particle onto the workpiece, there is some kind of material removal happening, through which all the materials will be removed in this layer. So this is how the ultrasonic machining is happening. Okay, so it's kind of like this. When the particle is hitting the workpiece, some crack initiation is happening, and the crack will propagate, and then there is a brittle fracture. Hence, that is what is called your material removal rate. Okay, and this is the mechanism, not much important. So, and this is the abrasive jet machining, same like ultrasonic, but instead of having abrasive slurry, what you do, you have some air compressor, you are compressing the air to high pressure, then you are drying it, and then you are filtering it, and then you are entering into this chamber where you are feeding some abrasive particles, and you are feeding some compressed air here, and compressed air plus abrasive particles are sent into this pipe through some nozzle, and you are trying to blow onto this workpiece. Because of that blowing, the same thing, crack initiation, propagation, and material fracture is happening here in this case. That is your abrasive jet machining. So this is your ultrasonic machining. Important. Laser beam is nothing but you are using laser to do that machining. Laser will create some high intensity heat here that will melt and vaporize your material here and remove the material. That's it. And same way electron beam, you are using this electron beam to remove the material, same melting, but your electron beam machining will be happening in the vacuum, because if you are trying to do in a normal environment, your electrons will lose its momentum. If your electrons are losing its momentum, the right amount of temperature might not create here. That's the reason why you're trying to do that in vacuum. That's it. Very simple, this thing. And this is your jigs and fixtures. And the important difference between jig and a fixture is nothing but jig will try to locate and what to say. Okay, here it is there. So it's a device that does both functions. That is, you're holding the workpiece and guiding the tool is called jig. So it's trying to hold the workpiece here. You can see this is a jig, and it's locating because you have some circular bush here. It's trying to locate the workpiece also. But in a fixture, you can't, it won't locate. It will only fix it. It will only guide. It will hold the workpiece in fixture. That's it. So please remember, jig is locating, the guiding the tool and holding the workpiece. Fixture is only holding the workpiece, not guiding the tool. Again, I repeat, jig is holding the workpiece and guiding the tool. Fixture is only holding the workpiece, not guiding the tool. That's it. And this is a simple 3-to-1 principle. 3-to-1 principle in the sense like if you are trying to fix some object onto some machine, you have to use this 3-to-1 principle. It means that it has to have some 3 supports on one side, 2 supports on this side, and 1 support on this side. So this 3, 2, and 1 principle will make sure that your 12 degrees of freedoms are fixed, and the rest of the 10 degrees of freedom are fixed, and rest of the degrees will be restricted by your tool movements and all. Okay. So that's the end of your simple review of your metal cutting and machining process. I hope I have run through all the slides little in a hurry because this is not a complete in-depth course. Simple revision for your HL and your HPCL examination. And from now we have some, I think we have some 12 questions here. Let us solve these questions together and we'll close the session for today for metal cutting and machining operations. And coming class we'll be discussing casting, forming, if possible welding also. Okay, fine. Now tell me what is the answer for this? Anyone? Hello, guys. Okay. What about only 2 people are here. Please, I want to ask this from 2 of them. What do you think, Harini? I think Jason. Harini also B. Harini is B, and Jason is Hey, one minute, let me have some water. One minute. Okay. Okay. Bushes are generally in a jig. Okay. Good. Answer is okay. And Harini is right. B. Why? Let me take this. Answer is B. Why? Carbon bush. You can see here. This bush is here, right? So this bush will try to guide the tool. It will not try to locate. Jig will locate, not the bush. Okay. Okay. So it will try to guide the tool. You're right. Please remember, it will try to guide the tool. What about the second one? Second one. I told you the difference between orthogonal and oblique. I think you'll tell the answer. Okay. Again, right. Both of them right. Excellent, sir. Excellent. Because it can be acute, it can be obtuse, whatever it is, but it should not be perpendicular. Obviously, your cutting tool is inclined, cutting tool edge is inclined to your tool direction or feed direction. Excellent, excellent. Both of them excellent. Come on. Next one. So what do we have here? We have a milling cutter of 8. Let me draw the diagram. Okay. So we have a cutter and we have 8 points, 8 cutting points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 cutting points are there. Okay. And it is rotating at what? So generally you will write teeth with Z. Okay. Z as 8. And then what is the RPM? N is 150. Right. So it is rotating 150 revolutions in 1 minute. Okay. And feed per tooth in the sense like the depth, the feed that you're trying to give because this is what is this, right? So feed per tooth is 0.1 mm, right? So for one tooth the feed is 0.1 mm and the table speed in minute. So how much time this table speed is? So for one tooth this table is moving 0.1 mm for one tooth. So because the tooth is here, the next tooth coming here, it is moving 0.1 mm. So he is trying to ask the speed of the table. How do you do that? Simple thing. First, what you do for one revolution, how much mm it is trying to move? That is what is important, right? So please calculate that. For one revolution, how much time? How much this is moving? How many tooths it is coming into contact for one revolution? 8. So one revolution, 8 into 0.1. That is your 0.8 mm is the movement of your what is a the movement, right? So for one revolution of this cutter, it is moving 0.8 mm in the feed direction. Okay. So now what is this? This is RPM, rotations per minute, and for this is per one revolution. I want to calculate for 150 revolutions per minute, right? So what you do? So 150 revolutions, it will be 0.8 into 150 per minute. right? Mm per minute. So answer is 0.8 into 150. So please do this calculation and tell me. Or else the formula is this: FZN. This is the formula. FZN is the formula. Speed into Z into RPM is the formula for your table speed. What is the answer? C. Okay, good. Fine. Next one. Tell me the next one. What about the next one? Excellent. 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 You're right. Simple question. He's asking the chip thickness, the cutting ratio, chip thickness ratio, that is T1 by T2. And this one is T1, I told you already, 0.2 by 0. Sorry, wait. 1 minute. This is not chip thickness ratio, this is cutting ratio. So cutting ratio is 1 by R. Yes. So T2 by T1. You're right. 1 minute. So please remember, you're right. Cutting ratio is 1 by R, that is T2 by T1, that is 0.32 by 0.2, that is 1.6. Okay, good. Next one. Next one, come on. You can hand calculate it easily. Come on, do that. This is not VTN, this is V to the power of T to the power of N. Okay, please remember this. Okay. Excellent, Harini, you're right. What about Jason? Okay. So it's simply V to the power of T power N is equal to constant. Yes. So what is trying to ask? C, value of C, right? So what is V? V is where is it given? It is 60, and T is what? 1 hour 21 minutes. So we have to write in minutes. So 1 hour is 60, 60 plus 21 is 81. 81 to the power of what is the value of N here? 0.25. I can write 0.25 as 1/4, and this is the value of C. So C is equal to 60 into, I think I can write this as 3 to the power of 4, right? So 3 to the power of 4 into 1 by 4. 4 get cancelled. C is equal to 180. Absolutely right. B. B is the answer. Try the next one. Come on, keep on going. I think if Harini and Jason, if you are given right answer, if I say right, then go to the next question immediately. Okay, you got B. What is he asking? He's asking, he has given the diameter D, that is 30, and spindle speed is, that is N, that is 1000 RPM, right? And what is the cutting speed? Is simply cutting speed. No, cutting speed is pi dn, pi dn. So if you are pi dn by 60, then it is mm per minute. If mm per second, sorry, if pi dn by 1000 mm per minute, if it is pi dn meter per minute. This is pi dn, simple pi dn. Pi dn is 3.14 into 30 into 1000. And mm is given, so we have to convert that into meters. So I think here we have to multiply into 10 to the power of minus 3. What is the answer? C. Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. Jason, you got that answer? Okay. Next one. Okay. Excellent. 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 Because the primary action is for this. Of course, it will provide lubrication. Of course, it will wash out the chips. Of course, it will improve the surface finish. Those are all secondary. Primary action is cool the tool and the workpiece. Excellent. Next one. Next one. Next one. You think A. Okay. What about Harini? Excellent. C is the right answer. So then why do you use for, what do you use for tachometer? Tachometer? Anyone? Tachometer will measure RPM, revolutions per minute, rotations. Comparator will make this is used in inspection, where it will see the roundness and all these things will be done by using this comparator. And lactometer, anyone? Lactometer. Lactometer is for milk, lacto. You'll see whether the milk is adulterated or not, like, that milk one. Okay, fine. Answer is D. So this is for used for some measuring milk. See how much is pure milk or not. That's it. Fine. Next one. This is asking measuring time. You know the formula for measuring time, right? Okay. Please check your units. Units are very important. Don't be in a hurry. Yes. See, in a hurry, you might have kept A. In HL exam, I think there is no negative, but you'll get answer wrong answer. Right? In HL, there is no negative, but anyways, you're losing 1 mark or 2 marks, right? So please pay attention to units. Answer is D, right? If you want the solution, it is nothing but length of cut divided by F into N. What is length of cut? 1000 mm, and divided by F is 0.2 into 50. Okay. So minutes, minutes is left. So this is your 10 minutes. Okay. What about next one? Excellent, excellent, excellent. What is on rake phase then? Which weir is on rake phase? Which weir is on rake phase? What is the weir? Name of the weir on rake phase? On relief phase, you have flank weir. What is the name on rake phase? Yes, crater. Excellent, excellent. Very good, very good. Okay, next. So please remember, relief phase you have flank weir, and rake phase you have crater weir. Excellent. Next one. What is the first couple? What is the first couple? First couple is rake, and I tell you the second one is side. This is side rake angle. Simple. And second couple is relief angles. Third couple is cutting edge angles. This is nose radius. That's it. The side rake angle is the answer. Okay. Okay. So let's go to this. Okay. I didn't discuss about this numerical control. So simple numerical control. This is the evolution. How does this evolution come? So first they started with numerical controls. That is here NC machines. Okay. So I'll tell you about this. So first we have NC machines. So how did they automate the process? They automated by using some punched tapes. Okay. They are automated the machines by some punch tapes, like your cassette tapes, no? Like initially when we were kids, we had some tape recorders where we used to have some cassettes and there used to some reel and some tape is there, right? In a similar way, there is some punch tapes, and each punch tape there are some holes. They used to punch some holes on that, like this. And each line they used to have a certain number of holes. Based on the holes, it is converted into some binary. When this is binary to some analog to some signal is generated. The signal will give you some motion, stepper motor motion. That motion will give you some movement of the table. Like that, they used to automate the system by using this punch tapes. And after some era, computer has come, so they have retrofitted some computer to that is called CNC machine. Here you're using your hard drive to save your information, right? You're using your hard drive to save your information. And now to control this different CNC machines, direct and distributed control systems have come. So let's say if you are 1 minute, guys. Okay. So let's say there is where is this? Okay. There is this DNC, that is your direct, in the sense like what you say, there is some centralized computer here, and that computer will manage all the CNC machines. That is your direct. Distributed is nothing but it's like some computer is there, some computer is here, and some for each computer some CNC machine is there, some CNC machine is there, some CNC machine is there. So this is distributed. So like this is the evolution. First NC, then CNC, then DNC, when direct, then that distributed. So like this is the evolution. The correct order is 1, 2, 3, 4 only actually. Okay. So this might be the question that can be asked. And which of the following is having high material removal rate? Hello. No. I told you, atom by atom, it's electrochemical machining, right? It's electrochemical machining. What about the next one? Guys, Okay. No. So electrochemical machining is again an answer, because in electrochemical machining you have least amount of tool wear that is happening. Okay. I think this is the end of this thing. And I want to ask you these questions. Have you heard of this CNC programming? I don't know whether they'll ask in HL or not. You know this G codes, G and M codes? Yes or no? Jason and Harini? Okay. So what is G00? Anyone? G00, G01. I want all these things. G02 and G03. What are this? I think if, oh, you have to learn again. Okay. No. G00 is rapid traverse. So what is it? Rapid traverse means? It's nothing but, let's say your workpiece is here. It's put onto this check into the CNC machine, and your tool is somewhere here. So it has to reach from here to here for machining to start. So it has to travel in the air. So if you want to travel that in air, you don't want to go slowly, right? You want to go fastly. So this is stuck to some drivers, right? Some drivers. So it will rotate with the maximum speed of the drivers and it will reach a tuck, suck it right. After that, when it is starting, then you get some feed. So when you are given feed, then slowly it will move. Okay. So there is no feed given to this. It will move with the maximum driver speed that is possible. G01 is your linear interpolation. Let's say if your tool is moving in a straight line, then it is a linear interpolation. Okay, linear interpolation. And G02 is circular interpolation, that is in clockwise, and this is G03, circular interpolation is counterclockwise. So if your tool is moving in clockwise direction, G02 you have to give. If your tool is moving in ulta, that is counterclockwise, then it is G03. And these are called preparatory codes. It means you're making your machine ready. And this is your miscellaneous codes like coolant on, coolant off, okay, tool change, like this. All these things are miscellaneous codes visibly given to the machine. G codes are given to the tool, M codes are given to the machine. Please remember these points. Okay, so this is the overview of all these things, and both the answers are ECM here. Any doubts you can ask me here. I'm here to answer your questions. And please tell me, how did you feel about this lecture? Or if at all you want me to reduce some theory, if you want me to give more questions, I can do that. Or if you wanted me to discuss more concepts, then I have to reduce some questions here. So what do you think? Okay, fine. What about Harini? I think we have to complete. I mean, Dinesh told, I think we have to complete by 8 to 9 hours the complete section 4, because you don't have much time, it seems, right? When is your exam? Yeah, 2nd and 23rd. So there's no much time. So obviously, you have to complete in time. So then we don't have much time, right? We hardly have 20 days, and it's not only the subject that you have to prepare. You have to prepare for general knowledge. You have to prepare for aptitude. You have to prepare for other subjects as well, like mathematics and all. I don't know whether they'll ask mathematics or not, but design and all you have to read, right? So I can go up till maximum till 8 to 9 hours, not more than that. So next class, my plan is like this. Next class, what I'll do, I'll discuss the casting, forming, and most probably welding also. And that is for 2 hours. And the coming next 2 hours, I'll discuss the materials and metrology inspection and some welding which is left. And last, I'll be discussing the industrial, that is your operations research and inventory control and all. I think it will be sufficient, but the problem with HL is, I think I've seen the HL question paper, not now, I think 2 years back, I think I've seen. The questions, some questions are the industry related questions, like they won't ask directly some like this, formula. They'll ask some industry related questions. Some questions cannot be attended that easily, but some questions are like this only, very easily you can attempt. I don't know about HPCL, but HPCL, I think it is the first time that it is keeping examination from after 2012. From 2012 to 2020, I think they have taken through GATE. I don't know, this time only they're putting examination. Is it, am I right? HPCL, I'm talking about HPCL. Because I remember, I think they have taken through GATE, again they stopped it, I don't know. HCL from long back, it was taking from their own examination. Okay, hope for the best. And also please solve previous year GATE questions, so that sometimes what happens, they'll directly give previous year GATE questions. They'll directly put it. They won't even think for so much time. They'll directly put the previous year questions. So hope you solve all the previous year questions. And if you have some previous year questions of your PSC examinations, you try to solve them also. And also you can try to solve some engineering examination, ESC, or they'll also call as Indian Engineering Service. So you can do that objective questions also as well, so that it will be good for your exam, objective things. Okay, fine. Thank you so much for your time and patience, both of them. And I hope I'll be giving you more information in the next class about, casting forming, and let's see what happens. Thank you. Thanks a lot, and good night. And one more thing, if you have any doubt, you can ask me through my email ID. My email ID I'm just putting out here. Just you can ask this thing, my email ID. This is my email ID. You can ask me any queries so that we can discuss. Thank you. Thanks a lot.